All right, it's 3 p.m. and we are about to start our today's webinar. A warm and sincere welcome to all the participants gathered here today. We truly value and appreciate your presence. The POSH Act has made significant strides in protecting women from workplace harassment, but there is still much more work to be done. By addressing current challenges and looking towards future enhancements, we can ensure that its workplaces are safe, inclusive, and conducive to the dignity and growth of all employees. HR Association of India welcomes you all to the 2024 Dialogue Masterclass series on the topic POSH Act Current and Future. To know more about HRA and its events, I would request all the participants to visit the link and details posted in the chat window. I request all the participants to kindly follow the webinar guidelines mentioned in the chat window. It would be great to have all the participants' feedback. We will be running a poll before the Q&A session. I request all the participants to give your feedback on the session. I now take the privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker for today, Ms. Vandana Teji, founder and CEO of the Unicorn People. Ms. Vandana Teji is a human resource professional with over 15 years of industry experience. She holds a degree in strategic human resource management from the National University of Singapore. She is the founder of the Unicorn People, an end-to-end HR process outsourcing firm. She specializes in HR transformational projects and change management. She has been empaneled by the Government of India as a resource person to spread awareness for the prevention of sexual harassment of women at workplace. She acts as an external member for the internal committee of various organizations where she guides policy making, grievance handling, and resolution to enable a safe workplace. She is the global project head of Janitri NGO and the West Bengal head of Amabark Care Foundation. She is the national president of WICCI Pay Parity Council. She has been awarded as the Woman of Excellence for 2022 and 23 for Women Economic Forum and Janitri and many more. You can follow her on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. Without wasting much time, I now hand over the platform to Ms. Vandana. Over to you.
Thank you, Faisal, and thank you, HRAI and Association of India, and all of you for having me here today. And it's always an honor. It's like coming back and talking to all of you is something that I love. So this time when I was coming, I thought, let me add a new flavor to what we want to arrive. You know, Posh is something which is spoken much about now. And I'm really, really happy that is happening. However, you know, I thought, being in a Posh and working so closely on Posh, let this be an analysis call and we all can have an open conversation as to, because it's a fairly small network, I would request everybody to do share opinion, by unmuting themselves. And the whole sole idea over here is to understand the past, how difficult it was for us to reach the act. And then from Act 2013, when the act was introduced, from then till now, the last almost like last 10, 12 years now. Okay. How will it proceed in the future? All of it, I'm planning to break it down for you today. Okay. So without wasting much time, I'm just moving to my PPT. Let me know in case it is not visible to you or
It's visible, Vandana. Yeah, we can
visible.
see it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we have been introduced, so I'm skipping that part. But today the idea is to create the understand the basics of the POSH Act, the past, the journey so far, and understand the workplace of the future. How will it look like? Will it continue to look like the way we are already, struggling to get cases registered? Or do you think that there's something can be done so that investigation gets much more easier? The judgment is dealt and given out more faster than what the way it is currently. Okay. So moving ahead, did we get the opportunity to put the poll?
Yeah, we have
So this
instead
would
of
be
the
the
poll.
right
Okay.
opportunity. So, before I start, I thought that it's good to have an understanding as to where do you all stand, because that will help me, as a trainer or as a facilitator, to let you know as to, how deep am I supposed to go in the topic? How much basics do we need to cover here? So now is the time to put the first poll up.
Shami, putting it in the chat window? Oh, it's gonna count.
Yeah, it's done.
Oh.
क्या नहीं हो रहा तो होगा
Sham, your mm,
Just checking the chat. It's extremely hot here in Calcutta, and I have the AC cranked up, but then I'm still sweating. So, yes, the question is pretty simple. And it's a yes and or no question. I think everybody should take it up. We have got two questions. I'll share my screen so that you can see those questions in case. What do you think is the answer? The first question over here is Rocky Road is a consulting firm with just 8 employees. Is POSH Act 2013 applicable to them? Yes or no? It's a very simple question. Yes or no?
so Vandana, you can, if I don't know if you can see the poll on the right hand side, we can see 63% are saying yes for the first question and 38% are saying no.
38% are saying no. Okay.
Yes.
And what about the second question?
Second, 88 are saying yes, and 0 is saying no.
Oh, how is that possible? 88% are saying okay. So some people are still not taking the poll. Okay. So, anyways, help me understand, why do you think an 8 employee company is not covered in POSH? If you are registering as an organization with the Ministry of Company and Associates, that means POSH is applicable. If you're running an entity, POSH is applicable. Doesn't matter how micro you are, whether it is 8 employee or just 1 employee. The POSH Act covers everyone. Everybody is supposed to follow the POSH Act. And in case you are found not being following the act, the first warning is given, of course, and the second with a it has a fine of huge, humongous fine of 50,000 rupees. And in case you repeat it, then the registration license can be cancelled. And this is the only act which can do that to you. Moving ahead, you all did guess correctly. The Andrea is the courier girl who visits. So whether you are a visitor, whether you are a employee, whether you are a housekeeping employee, third party employee, whether you're a vendor partner or you're a candidate, anybody, somebody comes down for interview, anybody who is under your roof will be covered by the act. So in case they report, you will have to deal with that case. Yeah. With that, okay, let's. I thought I'll just begin with a little introduction about what is sexual harassment. That is, physical contact means sexual harassment is unwelcome act or behavior. That's something that you have not called in for. This is something which is happening to you without you asking for it. Okay, it can be in the form of a physical touch, advances directly, indirectly, show that kind of a touch. And a demand or request, that's outrageous. Somebody comes up to you, walks up to you and says that, oh, I need sexual favors. If you do sexual favors, then I will give you a promotion or something like that. Making sexually colored remarks. When I say sexually colored remarks, this is the highest number of cases where we get this category, where it people make sexually colored remarks, like showing your middle finger, to smacking of your lips, or revolving your fingers, hand, facial expression, eyebrows expression, all of it. Of course, showing pornography is definitely there, and any other unwelcome physical, verbal, non-verbal. Because of course, this is the list is a small one, but the behavior or the traits are large. The list is super long. Yeah. Now, understanding the past and the act, how did we reach here? Everybody knows Vishaka guidelines by now. We have spoken enough. In case you do not know, you can take up a book and read about it. In 1997, so this act came into picture. This guideline came into picture. This was due to the brave fight that a Sathin or the friend of the government, so that you have this Anganwadi culture in the villages, wherein small things like every year there is an agenda which is put up. Like the agenda for that year was to abolish child marriages, and it was in the parts of Rajasthan, in one of the villages of Rajasthan. And Rajasthan, Haryana, and that part Gujarat has been always known for, and of course West Bengal also, a lot of it, for child marriages. So, and it was rampant in those times. And our Santhin, or the friend of the government, Bhavari Devi, was actually going ahead and trying to stop a child marriage which was happening, in one of the highly well connected, highly high caste people's house. So she tried to stop it in many ways, but that was not happening. So as a result, when she protested when the marriage was actually happening, she was raped, brutally raped by, and it was a gang rape in front of her husband. And she had to walk in that scenario to, I think, started in the morning and reached around in the evening to the police station. And after reaching to the police station, she had to struggle to get a complaint even registered. So we started from there. And Vishaka was the name of the NGO who was supporting her in this work, in her trust. And they launched in these guidelines to protect the women who are working. The number of working women in 1997 was not that great. However, it has been growing. Every year it has been growing. And the education gap is definitely closing, because education is important and everybody is understanding paramount for some reasons or the other, for people from being getting independent girls, or creating girls who are educated so that they are easily getting married off. So the reason can be anything based on the culture from where we come in. However, the scenario in today's world is that it is the number of students graduating every year is almost similar. When it comes to the male and female ratio, it is almost similar. However, when these guidelines came into play, these are mere guidelines, and who follows guidelines? Okay, very few people follow guidelines. Forget guidelines. So in 20, I hope everybody remembered this, the Nirbhaya case which had happened in Delhi. And that's when the POSH Act was lying between, being tussled between the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, waiting for the final judgment to be passed out, and waiting for the day when this will become an act, and finally women will get a place, at least some protection from the law. Okay. And that's when the entire hue and cry of Nirbhaya case was going on. The entire nation was burning in order to give something to stop or calm the population down. This act was finally introduced so that they can protect the rights of women, at least at the workplace. Yeah, the act has been made in such a manner that it pays double the attention on prevention, prohibition. So it is twice. It's almost the same. Preventing and prohibiting. And the difference in the word, if you see, is specifically prevention is non-legal. Prohibition is legally devoid. You're not allowed to do it legally. In case you do it, it will lead to sentence, imprisonment or any type of punishment, those kind of legal punishment. And of course, redressal. That was again very important, to have a proper guideline for redressal. And I hope you have seen the act. If you have not seen the act, then you should go through the act. It is my mere 2-3 pages act. That's how it has been created. The act is unfortunately very gray, with a lot of room for interpretation, with a lot of room for no guidance. Okay. But this is what we have as of now. So this is about the act. Any questions here? No questions. Okay. Moving ahead. The major components of the act. Before we go more detail, it is important for you to understand what are the major components in this act. The complainant. The complainant is, as per the act is for women. Okay. So the complainant here is a woman, a person who has been subjected to sexual harassment, and she comes and reports a complaint against the person who has done it. And since in our legal system is very clearly states that you're not guilty until proven so, hence the person who has been accused is called as a respondent. Okay. So the complainant puts in a complaint to the internal committee, and the internal committee then takes up the investigation, reaching out to the respondent. And after doing a lot of investigation, they finally take a judgment. That's the usual brief process. Now, what is the difference between the workplace and the employer? Anybody who can tell me? No idea? It's so difficult to unmute and talk. Okay. So employer is the one who gives you an offer letter. Your offer letter or your appointment letter will have their stamp and signature. But workplace can be different. Like you can be a third party person who is on the contracts of one X company and working for some other client organization. Or maybe you're traveling out of work. Like suppose you are an employee of this organization, and for sales purposes or business purposes, you're traveling. So now the hotel or the client place will become your workplace. Okay. In case you you are in the corridor outside, is also considered under workplace. Company transport is also considered under workplace. And any event, why is the definition of workplace so important? So when you're working from home, your home becomes your workplace. Okay. So why is it this definition of workplace so important? It is important because only then the internal committee will decide whether this case should be dealt by us, or should it be dealt by police or the other authorities as appointed. Because of course there can be a scenario where you are walking on the street and then somebody harasses you, but the internal committee do not have the required skill set to do such an investigation, because they don't have the control there. Okay. So the complainant and the respondent, both have to be connected by some way. Even if the complainant is a visitor, she must have come to your office premise. Is this clear? Okay. Understanding sexual harassment. Again, very important is for you to understand sexual harassment. It has been typically divided into two forms of inappropriate behavior. One is, of course, known as quid pro quo, or that's a Latin word, and it means this for that. Like I was saying, like if you give me sexual preferences, then I will give you preferential or detrimental treatment in your employment. Okay, this usually happens in the position of power. That you have to remember. But then not must. There can be a situation, the power over here is not just designation or hierarchy, but also knowledge can make people powerful. implied or expressed threat about her future or employment status. Like there are times, when they will say that, you better follow or go on a date with me or do what I'm saying. If not, I will terminate you. While termination is not a very easy task, but hey, we all know that the offer letter also says that the company has the rights to terminate you from a position without giving a reason. Correct? And vice versa. So you may resign from an organization without giving a reason. You just don't want to work there anymore. Yep. Creating a hostile, intimidating, or offensive work environment. That is hostile work environment. An environment which makes you feel uncomfortable. Like you walk into the office, at the moment you open the door, everybody is ogling at you. And you find it very, very intimidating. Or there is somebody in your office who sits right next to you and cracks a lot of inappropriate jokes, and everybody enjoys it, and you start getting offended out of it. Or treating anybody for their body, their structure, the shape, color, religion, caste, anything. If you're giving that kind of a humiliating treatment, that also makes a hostile work environment. How? So there can be a situation wherein it is a case of hostile work environment, but it is not sexual harassment as well. So it is definitely important that the internal committee is well trained to identify and help the complainant identify such cases. Yeah. So punishment. So punishment, I think a lot of organizations that I have come through are moving towards zero tolerance. What do you mean by zero tolerance? Zero tolerance is nothing, but it says that it doesn't matter, the offense that you have committed is big or small. Okay, it doesn't matter. What matters is the impact, and that's the reality. The entire case is about not intent but impact. Okay, but a lot of organizations, like the government organizations, still have varied punishment based on the how grave the situation or the offense has been committed. However, a lot of zero tolerance organizations will directly ask you to leave because they don't want anybody who has anything to do with sexual harassment. And if you ask me on a personal note, I will definitely would like to have that's a similar thing I have for my own organization. Nothing beyond it. You're proven guilty, and that's it. Of course, while you have these options of punishment, you also have that, the management has to implement the decision which has been given by the internal committee within 60 days. And in case there is an appeal, they're not happy, like the complainant, the respondent, or the management, okay, that is the head of the organization, they're not happy with the judgment that has been given by the committee members, then they always have the right to go for an appeal within the first 90 days of the recommendation being issued. Yeah, that's about the case. Now, I would like to take 1 second break and come back to you all. So, what do you think? Till now, whatever I have said, does it make sense to you? Anybody has any questions? Okay. So no questions, but I want you to ask questions. Put in your opinion. What do you feel about the act? What do you feel about the act? I said that the act is great. Any one of you feel that way? Yes, yeah. POSH Acts is a must. And yes, Faisal, good question. How often should the act? See, whichever while we cannot take care of the act because act is managed by the government, but I understand that the policy that you have internally has to be reviewed almost every year ideally. Okay. Or in case, because this is one of those act which has almost an update every year. I have a special slide on that wherein I will show you in the last 2 3 years itself there have been upgrades, and there are progressive changes which are being brought into the policy and the act. So you will have to update your policy accordingly, because yes, the workplace is dynamic. Correct. Any other questions? I hope up till now whatever I have covered, if all of you have understood. And in case you have any questions now or later also, feel free to stop me in between and ask those questions. I'll be happy to take them up for you. Okay. The act has been instrumental in raising awareness about sexual harassment issues. That's a true thing, right? So this is a specific research analysis that has been done by SEDA. SEDA is a research and non-profit research organization, and they have considered 300 listed companies on the National Stock Exchange. So I hope everybody knows that now every year along with your company's report you're supposed to inform to the government if you had any sexual harassment cases or not. In case it was reported, then what was the judgment and opinion taken, and so all those details have to be provided. And also they also ask for things like awareness sessions were conducted or not, posh meetings were conducted or not, IC meetings, IC training. All of it is a part of the manual. And if you are an audited organization, the clients here are auditing you, then also they will ask you all these questions. So my advice is for you all to create, in case you don't have an posh, please make sure that you implement it at the as soon as possible. Yeah, it was like yesterday you had to implement it. And it has empowered. Definitely, we see a rise in a lot of cases. Now, rise in cases, that's a funny thing. We can feel that the rise in cases are due to the cases itself happening, the people are doing it increasingly. But I'm of the opinion is that because of the awareness, people are now being aware of their right. They are no more afraid about the retaliation that was seen earlier. And hence now when you look at it, you will see that people have people have gone through it. The complainants are coming forward and getting their cases registered. So that is a big win. With the number of, I'll show you how many cases are registered and everything. I think I'll have to take 2 slides in one go. So the guidance of the mandatory sharing, like it's of course, as I said to you, annual companies report, it has to be shared. In principle, the higher number of cases reported could be an indicator. Yeah, as I've said, awareness, complaint, or redressal mechanism, cultures, and organization, or both. It can be both. Only a handful of companies. I wanted to share this, report with you. Now you see, here is a graph that has been created. It is a where it is they are trying to cover 2012 to 2023. Please understand, this research has been done by a group of associates and interns basically, and they have literally gone through the document which has been submitted by these 300 companies. Okay, to the ministry. They've looked into each report with different formats, different findings, different ways of presenting. Most of it were zero, but the number of cases which were there, if you see, eventually it has gone up. So I think this is a great change that we are seeing it. And I was really happy to see this report. And I thought it is important to share as well, because I think not many people know about this report and study. This happened in March 31, 2023, last year itself. Okay. And you see, from a mere zero-ish to around 1100 cases being reported. This is amazing. Though the data size that has been taken up is only 300 employees, 300 organizations. The data size is definitely very small, but it gives us at least some understanding. And I think the need of the hour is to have something which is as, as binding as probably the GST or the Aadhaar card thing. I know they all the database that we have created with the Aadhaar card, I think it can be utilized to further. We also have the ministry where registration database. I think somehow we need to get better information, and the manual submission of documents should go down, and everything should be electronically reported and verified, so that we can understand things better. But on the other hand, if you see the being cases resolved, this is still lagging somewhere, right? It's still lagging. The cases have gone up, but the investigation is still lagging. What do you think can be a reason? I've kept it open on purpose. What do you think can be a reason as to why people are why there is a delay in investigation? What do you think? Hey, please put in your thoughts. It's very important to have thoughts because it's literally a monologue till up till now, and I would really, really appreciate if you all can put in. Hmm? Nothing? Okay. So I am of the opinion that this, you see, is because investigation needs, because as an IC member myself, as an external member, I have faced challenges like, last minute complainant withdrawing the complaint. They don't want to continue with it. Or people quitting in between. A lot of time, both the complainant or the respondent will quit in. So there is nobody to talk about it. Or, lack of evidence, because all these cases are one word against the other. And so there can always be a scenario in which we try to investigate, but there is nothing to be found. Nobody has seen them. So, the completion is, or the resolving gets impacted with a lot of things. And these are them. And a lot of times, that you can do judgment to the case, but there's no supporting evidence. And let's understand that anybody who is going through the complaint and anybody who's replying to the complaint, both have a career and both is at stake. So there's a lot of risk involved here. And hence, the IC members really are very, very thoughtful, logical, objectively oriented, so that they take the right decisions towards it. The challenge, coming down to the challenge here that I see is, like, you have a total number of sexual harassment cases. If you see, the SEDA surveyed 200 senior human resource officers for another study that is investigating demand side barriers to women's participation in paid work in India. More than half, that is 59% of the respondents, said that the organization had not set up internal complaints committee that are mandated by the POSH Act. Yes, it is a challenge. It is a big, big challenge. And as I've stated, the Supreme Court themselves in 2023, one of the landmark cases again said that, lamented that there are serious lapses in the enforcement of the case. There's no audit happening. You've created an act, such a huge act, such a big act, and with such an amazing intent. But if you're not enforcing it, if you're not doing the audits, if the government continues to do it in this way, the implementation will continue to suffer. Even after almost 10 years, the implementation is a problem. And it's a huge problem. My own through this session, I always want to, reach out to all the professionals on the call. Please make sure that and whichever part organization you are a part of, please make sure that you have this impaneled. You make sure that your POSH Act, you're mandated, you have a policy set up. It's basically all you have to do is set up a policy. You can just, if you don't want to sit and create a policy, you can write that it is in consensus with the POSH Act of 2013 of Government of India. Even saying that is enough, but having that one piece of page is important. And then conducting one or two awareness sessions for your employees every year is important. Having those, communication, put up posters, and having just one internal committee who can look into the investigation can do a hell lot of difference in creating a amazing, positive, and safe workplace. It will turn your organization into a better place. Yeah, this is what we are trying to achieve by going through those surveys, humongous surveys, making those payments, doing so much of branding. You know, this is a branding that you definitely want to show off, that you have created a safe workplace. So you look at the data. If you look at the first graph, okay, it's a cumulative graph, and you will see that since 2013 onwards to 2023, the number of companies, okay, who have been reported, it's changing very less. It's still not reached 200 also on a daily basis. That's the scenario. Yes, the number of cases have grown, which is a good thing. This was the COVID impact, and hence you see a less number of cases, but there were not less cases also. I just wanted to remind that people got confused during the COVID era because the definition of workplace overnight changed from being an office space to their own homes. The ways of sexual harassment changed from being in person to virtual, online, social media stalking. All of it was happening, but it further confused the complainants, and they did not know what to do, or in other words, they did not want to make a hue and cry out of it. But you see the number in 2023, it is humongous. It is growing every year, every year. But look at the number of companies reporting. It's still somewhere staggering down. On the other hand side, right hand side, if you see the graph, which talks about the large, middle size, and the small, basically size of the company who have been reporting, 80 to 88%, okay, the cases are being reported only by the larger organizations, one who have the resources and the intent to make sure that sexual harassment is not happening. Despite this not even charging, you any employee you pay in a month, you will not pay them less than 18,000, 20,000 a month. Believe me, being POSH compliant will make you spend half of it also, maybe just half of it on a monthly basis. It is that cheap. Because there are people like us who are external members, and they really, really want to make an impact. And if they're a tiny organization, I'm okay not charging anything. But I want you to be compliant. Do reach out to me in case you need any help, any support. Yeah. So that's the challenge that we are addressing. And what else is the challenge? I will come to on the last slide, I will cover that. Recent amendments. If you see the recent amendments that have happened, I told the progressive changing happening every year to this act. Like January 23rd, 23, what happened? Earlier, there was a hard set that within 90 days, the investigation has to be completed. It was an inquiry mandate. But there were so many times that the committee struggled to complete within 90 days. The reason being, employees are working. Getting people, all the IC members together, getting all the investigation done. IC members are also employees. They're also doing their work. Then they are spending hours on the investigation. So it is but natural that it will take more time. When I say 90 days, 90 days is, when you look at it at you say, oh, 90 days is too much for an investigation. And I agree. It is a good enough timeline in a setup which is ideal, wherein suppose you reach out to a CCTV camera and not get to know that, oh, the CCTV camera is definitely there, but it doesn't work. Or, oh, the incident that you've said, we do not keep security tape with us, or something or the other will come in. I'm giving you just one example. There are times when the people who are supporting the entire investigation, they also need leave. They go on leaves. So, or suppose the complainant falls sick. All of it is there. And just a hard stop at 90 days was totally, you know, it rushed the entire internal committee into making that judgment. But that good that it was identified, and now it is not mandated. It may take extra time. Of course, it has to be a justified timeline. May take extra time. Okay. Now, in February 2024, there have been two changes which have come. They are again landmark judgment. The recent proposal is to POSH Act. Earlier, we thought that only 3 months old cases would be handled. But being a part of the external committee, I will tell you, many a times, we had cases wherein the complainant would walk up to us and it would be more than 3 months. And I found it totally unjust. So we did investigate them, of course, with the permission of the management, but we did investigate them. But now it is legally there that yes, even a year old, up till an year of the last session when this entire issue happens, because we all know it is a series of event that has happened. The first episode nobody reports, rarely you will see, and only and until it is too grave a situation in the very first go that people come and walk up to you in the very first go to register a case. But only it is a normal scenario wherein we see a series of such events have happened. So we have to make sure that even if a year ago the last event has happened, we can go ahead and take that case. So that is a big landmark judgment. Okay, now again, there was an option of conciliation. What is conciliation? Conciliation was that, क्या किया? हमने complainant को बिठा दिया, respondent को बिठा दिया, and then we took the judgment of, oh, you know, okay, say sorry, thank you, and okay, he will not repeat and other stuff. So this conciliation did not have any binding. It was like and this was forced on a lot of women by a lot of organizations. And now the government has taken away totally. They say that this section 10, which mentions about the conciliation option available in the investigation to a woman, will no more be available. Now the only route is going to be the 9-year route of investigation, whether you like it or you don't like it, as an organization, as an employer, whatever. Yeah. So that's the recent amendments. Now the future. The future, we are in the Pride Month. Let's talk about it. Let's openly talk about it. Whatever is the workplace, whichever is the gender, anybody who goes through sexual harassment is a horrific situation for that person to manage work and life, and also a positive mental health. Impossible. So in my opinion, whatever is your gender, sexual harassment should be badged, should not be there in any organization, and the act should make sure that it's covering all the gender. And even if the act is not covering, you as an organization should have a policy that is gender inclusive or gender neutral, so that all your employees feel safe and respected at the work, and they know that in case there is a case of sexual harassment, they can reach out to the committee at any given point of time. So this is the future that we are expecting. This is the change that I'm expecting. As I said in the very beginning, that the act is extremely gray, and I mean it. You know, as a committee member, the most difficult part for us is getting a complaint registered. These days we get a call and there's the complainant will tell us, oh, please make sure that you just go ahead and scold the person so that they don't do this again, or they don't repeat. I don't want to impact their career or life. So that is what the complainant would say. And we have to spend a whole lot of days to make them understand that what has happened to them is not something minor. And by just not reporting the case, you're letting that person lose, and that person will again commit the same thing. And if you're not you, there would be another you and the another you. This person will not stop until you go ahead and stop them. But again, making them write that complaint, even if we know we cannot go ahead with the investigation, because the act requires a written statement. I think the need of the future is that the act should also allow anonymous complaints, so that organizations or employers can make sure that even if there's an anonymous complaint, they can deal with it. They can investigate it thoroughly and make sure that no such element is there and not going unnoticed. The act talks about, as I said, the hostile work environment. The act doesn't define about hostile work environment, which is non-sexual harassment. The act also does not talk about healthy attraction. There can be a scenario wherein, there is a healthy attraction at workplace. We are women, man and women, we're supposed to attract each other. Okay. And that's science. That's biology. That's how we were all constituted. And you cannot stop them from happening. But yes, there is a difference between a healthy attraction and creeping people out as sexual harassment. Like if you approach somebody for a cup of coffee with you at your workplace and the person says, thank you, but I do not want to. I think that is enough, a signal that the person doesn't want to go out with you or doesn't want any connection with you. However, if you drop it there, good, that was healthy attraction, case over. No post sexual harassment, nothing else. But yes, if you continue to pursue it every week, daily, you're saying the same thing to the person, it then turns into a sexual harassment case, where then the person did not understand no. Okay. Or it can be other way around. Like there were two people who were attracted to each other and were dating at office. And this is a very common, fraternization at office is very, very common. You cannot stop them from happening, but you can definitely create policies and processes to make sure that it doesn't impact productivity or the workplace environment. Last again, but not the least, is set up a process to ensure all registered companies are audited and POSH they are POSH compliant. So there has to be a process to review they ensure that it is enforced by all the organizations. Constitution. Yeah, that's the future. Now the last slide that I have for you before I go ahead, I wanted you all to tell me what are your thoughts up till now. Okay, how do we track work from home abuses? What constitute a work from home harassment? Okay, see, work from home, when you're working from home, your home is your workplace. Okay, and a sexual harassment that happens, suppose there is like there were two cases that I had addressed under this. One was wherein people wearing t-shirts of offensive remark, or there was something behind which was sexually colored, and they were taking video calls on a daily basis and they did not know it, and there's no other way of informing to them as well. Hence it was raised in POSH. So that's one of the cases in work from home. Secondly, work from home can be a scenario was wherein being forced to come on video calls. If you need somebody on video as a meeting etiquette, you have to let the person know in advance that this call requires to you to be on a video call. Okay. And in case and you have to be prepared accordingly. You cannot ask, start a call and force people to say, oh, why don't you turn on the camera? Turn on the camera. I want to see your faces. And when there's a manager who is doing that, and specifically during COVID, we all know there was no work-life balance. Anybody could call anybody at any given point of time. There was no office timing policy, which were people were just forgetting policies, norms, and step. And there were people making offensive remarks on WhatsApp status messages, Instagram status messages, social media stalking was again a big part of work from home. So these are the kind of examples that can come in work from home scenario. Yeah. Thank you, Neha. You like the insights. Anybody, any questions? Management not supported. I think if management is not supporting, then you will have to report into the local committee. I hope you all know the local committee. In case you do not know the local committee, there is something called a she box. Okay. She box can be used to report in complaints by the people who do not have sexual harassment or I'm sorry, do not have an IC committee at their home or at their office, or in case you have employees working for your home, like your maid at home, and they are going through a sexual harassment case. Any working woman is covered under this act, so you can help them by putting up the complaint on the she box. Okay. Employed to ensure better protection for workers in gig economy and informal sectors. Okay, that's my last slide. Faisal, I will need 2 more minutes. I need to cover the last slide.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. I don't know how to go back to the content sometimes. Okay. I'll do stop sharing and resharing. Yeah. So framing gender agnostic policies, extremely important. Policies should be updated promptly. The moment you see a update which has come, the newspapers is covering it, you have to make sure it is added in the policy. Conducting awareness session every quarter for your employees. That is a bare minimum. And specifically for people who are in remote work, or organizations who are in remote setup, you will have to do these awareness sessions because that's the only time when you can talk to people. However, when you have a work from office kind of scenario or a hybrid kind of a scenario, then what happens, you can display posters, you can use the wall, the notice board to put up posters, and in various languages based on which language is your staff comfortable with, and it should be in picture images so that people can understand by just looking at it. They need not read it also. So it has to be made in such a manner. One thing that can be done by the remote organization is that you have your systems. You can put up posters as wallpapers, sexual harassment free workplace as wallpapers for your employees. Or you have an internal committee, you can use in the signature yet you are a POSH compliant organization. So something like that which talks that you are proud about it and you want your employees to follow it. Okay. Continuous communication is the key. You cannot hold it like, oh, today I'm talking to them. So you have to do both verbal and non-verbal communication through, of course, by using The awareness sessions and discussions and posters. Posters are continuous communication. Email signatures are continuous communication. You know, that makes sure you have to be proud about it, and you have to display it accordingly and talk about it very openly. Maintain strict confidentiality on the case. All the investigation should happen outside the office premises. Book up an external meeting room and conduct it from there. It doesn't matter whether you're doing it the investigations on Zoom. Maybe you're calling people on interviewing for Zoom only. But the moment there is an IC committee meeting, people get to know. So my advice is, if you have an IC committee, if there is a case, have it outside the office premises. Book a meeting room outside the office premises. That's extremely important because confidentiality is prime rights of both the complainant and the respondent. Installing building access control, making sure that you have CCTV cameras set up in all the nooks and corners of your office, and conducting regular audit that they are in a working condition. And the most important part is monitoring it on a regular basis. Hire an employee who monitors. Don't wait for the complaint to come to you. This is how you do prevention and prohibition. You can see, and these days we have CCTV coverage cameras which can capture recordings with the moment there is a movement only. So you need not watch empty footages anymore. Yeah, training your internal committee is extremely important. Each internal committee is appointed for a tenure of 3 years. Okay, now within this 3 years, given us time, you can go ahead and train them once or twice, whatever you feel comfortable. But you make sure that you're also conducting the quarterly meetings of the IC. Okay, because these are the meetings when you can discuss the open cases which are there, any concept, any doubt. The external member or the trainers can come up with thought processes and you can have a brainstorming session. It may be just for a half an hour or 40-minute session, but have that, because only then will your internal committee members be prepared. When there is a case, they can do the best possible judgment within the given time frame. Yeah, with that, I would like to end my session today. So thank you everybody for hearing me out a little about myself and my work here. I do a lot of work with Embark Care Foundation. I request all of you to join our NGO, volunteer for our NGO. In case you can fund us, that would be a great help. Embark Care Foundation is doing a lot of work in the field of chuppi tod. That means break the silence. We need to talk about sexual harassment. We need to talk about menstrual hygiene. We make sure women are empowered, and any support that you can do would be a great help. With that, I end my session. And of course, you can reach out to us. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Vandana. So prior to our Q&A session, we would like to kick off a poll and encourage all the participants to kindly provide their feedback. While you're sharing your thoughts, we kindly ask the participants to post their questions in the chat window. Thank you once again to all the participants for joining today's session. We have received numerous inquiries about e-certificate offered by HRAI. To claim your certificate, please share your details, name and session attended via email to the provided email address in the chat window. Kindly ensure this is completed by the end of this month. We will email the e-certificates to you based on the details received. So Vandana, we have received some questions from the registrations. We'll just
Okay.
take it up. So the first question is, how can technology be leveraged to improve the reporting and resolution of sexual harassment complaints?
So the reporting and resolution in the current scenario of the POSH Act, I would suggest that, having one, as I said, utilizing your WhatsApp WhatsApp images, whatever is your signature for your company. Okay, make sure you write about POSH. that you're a POSH compliant organization, you're a zero tolerant organization towards POSH. Then putting up display posters and of course the wallpapers on your desktop. They are the way that's how you will use technology. Okay, you can always have I have these screen monitors which are near the lifts. They are amazing way to communicate. You can also use your HR portal to send out as on when in information about the cases that are happening, and how what can be done in case an employee is going through one.
Thank you. Thank you, Vandana. Rightly said. Moving on to our next question, it is in what ways can the scope of POSH Act be expanded to include men and LGBTQ plus individuals?
I've already mentioned this. You can create a gender neutral policy. Please create a gender neutral policy for your organization, because maybe the act is for women, but I am a great supporter that everybody, every employee who is a part of the organization should be protected against, because this is their basic right.
Sure.
And you can always, yeah, I know there's this one confusion also. If the act is for women, how do we deal with for the investigation of a man or somebody from the LGBTQIA plus community? In that scenario, the entire investigation will be done in the same manner the POSH Act does. The only difference is that it will be dealt under your disciplinary policy. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Moving on to the third and looking at the time constraints, we'll just take it up. The last question is how important is regular training and awareness programs for the success of the POSH Act, and what are the best practices for conducting these programs?
I want you all to know that it has done the tremendous job. You can see the graph. It says the number of cases that are getting reported. Awareness is of prime importance. Prime importance. I am openly telling on this network, anywhere you want an awareness session, try to conduct online, offline, whichever way is possible. Okay, conduct a session, get your employees made aware, try to get trainers who can conduct sessions, not like typical download, but they can make people understand what is the act about, basically in simple language, which is understandable by the employee, because getting that through is very important. Again, having an LMS is something that I do not like. Okay, I know LMS saves a lot of money. I know LMS saves a lot of strain. And specifically with organization with bigger headcount, it is a massive job, annually to get everybody to go through it. But believe me, whatever is the size of the event, you know, we should go ahead with have these. You can have LMS. You can also at least have once a physical session or an online session by a live presenter, because we go through a lot of cases. And these questions that comes to the employee's mind, they can get it directly answered through us by us. Look at the people whom you are getting adjusted. Make sure that these people are working in the field of women rights. They are aware of what they're doing, because in the market you will find a lot of trainers who are doing POSH training, but POSH is not something which can be learned in a day. Unfortunately, it is only like I have been working since Vishaka guidelines days, and the POSH Act came very much when I was already a part of the system. Yeah. So I don't, I just want you to choose the right people, because only then will your employees get the right information.
Thank you, Vandana. Thank you for answering all our questions. And on behalf of HRAI, we extend our heartfelt thanks for your insightful and thought provoking webinar. Your expertise and eloquent presentation provided us with a deeper understanding of the Act's significance, the challenges in its implementation, and the future direction for creating safer workplaces. As we approach the conclusion of today's session, it's imperative to express our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed event partners, Geisha, NASCOM COE, LinkedIn Local, Talgro, TLE, and WICCI. Their unwavering support has been instrumental in making these HRAI events possible. For further information about these associations, we encourage you to explore the provided links in the chat window. Thank you once again, dear speaker and our participants, for joining us today. Do join us for our next masterclass tomorrow, 26th June 2024, on the topic Creating an Inclusive Workplace by Umang Seth, founder of Mr. and Mr. Hugging Club. As we conclude today's webinar, we appreciate your participation. Stay safe, take care, and we eagerly anticipate our next interaction. Goodbye for now. See you soon. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Vandana.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.